Welcome to this lesson on the branches of geography. Geography, as you know, is a very broad field that helps us understand the world we live in, from the physical landscapes, like the way you see them around here, to the human activities that shape the world we live in. So, in this lesson, we are going to explore how geography is divided into two major branches, which are physical and human, as well as the economic. So each branch offers a unique insight into our environment and society, and it helps us to get informed and make informed decisions about how we interact with the world. So, like you can see in the image here, there are different images showing physical and human. So a question to you is, which part here shows the physical geography and which one shows the human geography? So as we continue, it is important for us to begin with the physical geography, which you see here. So this branch focuses on the natural features of the earth. And which ones are these? Of course, we are looking at natural features like the mountains, like the rivers, like the climate, the soils, which form part of that kind of ecosystem. So the Earth's surface is formed as a result of different forces, and these forces are largely physical. So they affect the environment and the features you see around here, like you can see a waterfall here, you can see kind of a valley, you can see the vegetation, all this, and the people here studying soil, studying the landscape. This forms part of our physical geography. And the region we may be considering, maybe looking at Uganda, looking at the whole of East Africa. So let's begin with the geology. Geology is a sub-branch of physical geography that deals with the Earth's solid components, which include rocks, minerals, and the crust. So geology helps us understand how landforms are created and how they evolve over time. For instance, Mount Elgon in Uganda is a volcanic mountain formed millions of years ago. So geologists like these ones study such formations and learn about the Earth's history. They predict geological events like earthquakes and even eruptions which are likely to occur. So whenever there's a crack, some people called geologists come around, try to look at what it is and what could have led to such a feature. Now, like this kind of island, there's a lot of erosion taking place, but there are internal forces which have led to the formation of different features here. So the role of geologists is to look at the changes, the nature of the soil, the rocks, the chemical components, and what is changing. So what kind of vegetation are we finding here? What kind of climate is here? We need to understand this kind of physical changes in the geography. I want to look at another part called geomorphology, which is the study of landforms and the process that shape them. Geomorphology looks at features like mountains, like valleys, and the plains, and also examines how such forces, such as wind, water, and the tectonic movements influence their formation. So a great example is the Machuen Falls here, where River Nile has carved a dramatic gorge, a gorge here. So geomorphologists look at such changes, such as erosion, sedimentation, and the influence to the formation of the landscape. So you can see people who are concerned with geomorphology, maybe this, they're looking at the formation of these features and how things can change. Now let's look at another form of geography called climatology, a part of the physical geography, which focuses on weather patterns and climate systems over long periods of time. It helps us understand why certain regions experience specific weather conditions. Let's take the example of Uganda's tropical climate with the many seasons. This is influenced by the Intertropical Convergence Zone, ITCZ. So climatologists study the patterns to predict rainfall, drought, and changes which are crucial for agriculture and weather management. So when you look at this kind of environment, you can see cloud cover, you can see wind, you can see different features in the background. All these are related to what the climatologists are concerned with. However, let's look at in most of our rural areas, we have people who are called rainmakers. So are those ones climatologists or they are not? So let's continue to focus on another part of physical geography, which is pedology. Pedology is the study of soils, their composition, formation, and a role in supporting life. So soils are vital for agriculture, forestry, and other economic systems. So in Uganda, areas like Mount Rwenzori, Mount Elgon, with rich soils are ideal for growing crops such as coffee. So pedologists analyze soil properties like this kind of soil, and they find suitability for its role in farming. So it is important to understand what kind of activities pedologists do. Let's continue to look at hydrology. Hydrology is the study of water bodies like rivers, lakes, and groundwater. It looks at how water moves through the environment and how it is used by people and the ecosystem. In East Africa, we have so many rivers, lakes, and these are forming part of the hydrological study. So hydrologists help us manage water resources for agriculture, drinking, and energy production, ensuring sustainable use. Look around here. What features do you see here? How are they formed? And the people who study this, what are they called? And the study of water bodies here is what we are referring to as hydrology. Moving further, want to change now. Let us shift now to human and economic geography. Now, this branch explores how people interact with their environment. It looks at activities like farming, mining, tourism, and urban development. Human geographers study how societies organize space, use resources, and build infrastructure. Their work helps us and guides us in terms of understanding sustainable development and improving living conditions. So take time to look at what is taking place here, what economic activities are here, and what kind of human geography is taking place here. What challenges do they face? So we take time to look at the different components of human geography. We start with mining, which is a major economic activity in Uganda, especially in regions like Mubende, like the Rwenzori region, Tororo, wherever there are minerals. So it provides valuable minerals and employment. However, mining can also cause environmental problems like deforestation and water pollution. So human geographers study these impacts and advocate for integrating artisanal mining into the formal economy to improve safety and sustainability. So you can see some kind of artisanal mining. I see this one's very, very common in gold mining areas, say Busia, Namayingo, Mubende, where small-scale miners use rudimentary tools to get some bit of gold. They wash it here, they clean it here, and then they go and sell. Now, look at another extractive method of mining here, and I think in geography, senior 2, senior 3, we have a lot to study, a lot about mining. Moving further, we are going to look at now forestry, which is another part of human geography. So forestry involves the use and the conservation of forests. In Uganda, forests like Mabira provide timber and help regulate the climate by absorbing carbon dioxide. Human geographers promote sustainable forestry practices that balance economic needs with environmental protection. And what are these? This includes reforestation, controlled logging, and community-based forest management. So when you look around here, you see the practice of forestry, which is the science of managing forests, including planting them, controlling them, managing them, and making use of them. It is a very, very important area of geography that we need to focus on, and to raise our economy. Planting trees plays a very, very important role in raising income and controlling climate change. Now let's go to agriculture. What is it? You may know the definition, but agriculture is the backbone of Uganda's economy. It includes both commercial farming, like coffee plantations in highland areas, and subsistence farming in lowland areas. So human geographers study farming methods. They look at land use crop distribution to improve food security, and promote sustainable agriculture. They also help farmers adapt to climate change and soil degradation. So a lot of activities here which are taking place in such an environment, may be very, very rural area by the nature of the homestead here, but there's some kind of plantation where people are organized in harvesting, so others are planting. These are the activities. Take note, continue to look at this image and make your own interpretation, discuss more. Now let's move to tourism, which is a growing industry in Uganda with attractions like Windy Forests, Mount Elgon, Rwenzori, Murchison Falls. These are national parks. What do? They bring in income and jobs, but also pose risks to the environment. So geographers study how tourism can support conservation and local economies. They promote ecotourism and responsible travel to ensure that natural and cultural heritage is preserved. So that is tourism. It's part of geography that really takes us to the community, takes us to the natural environment, and it involves attracting people, especially foreigners, with a bit of more money. They come in to see. Whenever they are coming to check on these animals, the chimpanzees, do you think they see them for free? No. Even to photograph a chimpanzee here, somebody must have paid some good amount of dollars, and that is the foreign exchange keeping our economy strong. Let's look at another form of geography, human geography, which is urbanization. What is urbanization? Urbanization refers to the growth of cities as people move from rural areas. Kampala, Uganda's capital, is expanding rapidly. So human geographers analyze how urban growth affects housing, transport, and public services. They work on sustainable city planning to manage congestion, pollution, and infrastructure development, as well as matters of crime. So when you look at such a city, you can look at well-planned roads running above the rest. You look at the nature of houses, well-planned, but there must be security. There must be equity in terms of distribution, who has what kind of plot. So this is something very, very important, and urban geography is even a course at high level. And then transport now. Transport and trade are essential for economic development. So Uganda relies on roads, railways, and ports to move goods and people. So what do geographers do? Geographers study transport networks to improve connectivity and reduce travel costs. They also look at trade patterns to support regional integration and market access for local products. So connecting countries, bypassing barriers like water bodies so that we can have ships crossing from Port Bell to Bukoba or to Mwanza or to Kisumu. That is the role of transport. And so people who study this kind of human geography focus on transport and trade, where we look at trade, we look at airports, we look at roads, we look at water bodies, and many other forms. And then let's look at now fisheries. Fisheries are vital around lakes like Victoria and Albert. They provide food and income for many communities. However, there are also challenges. There is overfishing and pollution which threaten fish stocks. So human geographers provide sustainable fishing practices such as regulated catch limits and habitat protection to ensure long-term availability and viability of the industry. So fishing here, we need geographers who really are scientists who have done courses in fishery. That's part of geography, and they look at sustainable fishing and preserve our lake. So this is common around Lake Choga, Lake Bunyonyi, Lake Victoria, Lake Albert, so many places in Uganda. Even outside Uganda, fishing takes place. So we need to understand and protect our fish. Okay, so let's now look at energy production, especially hydroelectric power from the Nile is crucial for Uganda's development. It provides homes, industries, and services with power. So geographers study how energy projects affect the environment and the communities. They advocate for renewable energy and balanced planning to meet energy needs while protecting the ecosystem. So, for those of you who have been to the areas where there are dams on on River Nile, right from Naluvale Dam around what used to be called Owen Falls Dam, and then continuing to Isimba Dam, Bujagali, there are so many dams created on River Nile. The purpose of this is to produce energy, majorly the electricity we use in our homes and factories. So this is part of the human geography and a very, very important aspect of our study. And now we look at industrialization. Industrialization involves the growth of factories and processing plants. In Uganda, industries like textiles and agro-processing are expanding very, very, very fast. So while they boost the economy, they can also cause pollution and land use changes. So human geographers promote sustainable industrial practices that minimize environmental harm and support inclusive agriculture. Most towns now have industries, and there are new industrial developments coming up in Namamve, in Mbale. I see them in Kasese, Jinja. Some of them are largely new in places like Kapeka, even Gulu, Arua. So many industrial centers coming up. So this is part of human geography, and there are people who specialize in understanding human geography. What do they study? Of course, look at the activities here. There's some kind of pollution taking place. There's a need for planning the area. There's need for provision of power, fuel, and all this require some serious and careful study. Now let's look at water management, which is part of human geography. Water management is critical in Uganda, where resources like Lake Victoria support agriculture, industry, and daily life. So as demand increases, geographers focus on efficient water use, pollution control, and equitable access. They help design policies and infrastructure to ensure water security for all. So what do you see in this video here? What activities are taking place, which shows that there's water management. Take time to look through, and of course, take note that this is part of human geography. And we now finally look at settlement patterns, which is so settlement patterns describe where and why people live in certain areas. In Uganda, many communities settle near rivers or fertile lands. So human geographers study these patterns to address issues like overcrowding and rural urban migration. Their goal is to promote balanced development and improve living conditions. So this is wherever you see water bodies which make suitable conditions, people will stay near lakes. There's high population, and then of course areas which are some highlands offer conducive conditions. So take time to look at these settlement patterns to understand really what takes place, and we should be able to discuss with your colleagues. Now let's look at trade and globalization. So Uganda is part of global trade networks, exporting products like coffee and tea. So globalization affects local communities, industries, and cultures. Human geographers analyze these impacts to ensure that trade benefits the country while protecting local businesses and traditions. They support fair trade and inclusive globalization. Just try to understand the influence of China. We're importing a lot and exporting little. So whenever there are goods imported, say from China, from Malaysia, from Kenya, South Africa, it affects the production of our industries here. So there is a lot for you to analyze what's taking place here. So our human geographers focusing on trade and globalization have taken time to understand the economics of this and the impact of every aspect which takes place and how it